Sharon Osbourne called her facelift horrendous. Jane Fonda quit them entirely because she didn't want to look distorted. How do you know how to get that beautiful natural result that truly lasts a lifetime? It's what everyone wants, right? To look as young as they feel. Today we're analyzing the entire celebrity facelift journey and the crucial lessons on when is the right time to stop getting facelifts, period. A lot to learn, a lot to cover, and I'm excited to go through this with you. I'm Dr. Amir Karam. I'm a board-certified facial plastic surgeon and founder and creator of Karam MD Skin. I specialize in facial rejuvenation, which basically means I help people look as young as they feel. And if you like learning about anti-aging and skin health and all things facial rejuvenation, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I upload a new video every single week. The secret to natural looking facial rejuvenation isn't just about a single surgery. It's about having a smart long-term strategy, and celebrities whose results are seen by millions offer up some of the most important and powerful case studies on what to do and what not to do. Today, we're gonna look at 6 of them, 6 different celebrities, 6 different lessons. And by seeing their experiences, we're gonna create a roadmap for your own journey. We're gonna take the learnings and really put it into practice for you. All right, so let's start with Marc Jacobs. Marc Jacobs is an iconic fashion designer who at age 58 did something revolutionary. As a celebrity, he documented his entire facelift journey on Instagram with zero shame, functionally completely normalizing the conversation and helping pave the way for patients like my own who have, in the order of hundreds, have very bravely shared their recovery journeys as well. So there's a lot of value here because it brings awareness and makes the story much more relatable, and also gives us an opportunity to look inside the journey and make informed decisions for ourselves. So he revealed openly about his particular procedure, which was an extended deep plane technique, which lifts the deep layers of the face and neck muscles to simultaneously reposition fat, muscle tissues, and ultimately in any type of deep plane procedure, you're hoping to get 12 to 15 years worth of results out of this. It's an advanced technique. Deep plane dissections have been around since the 80s, but they're not commonly done by most surgeons. They're becoming much more popular. And the biggest reason why I decided to include them and create the vertical restore, which is a technique that I perform that is built off of the deep plane, is because I wanted longer lasting results. And you'll see why that's important in a moment. But ultimately, Marc Jacobs made people realize that you can have a facelift, go through this process, and emerge looking like yourself, which is really at the core of what people want, is to get a natural looking result. And in my opinion, it's one of the most important goals for facial rejuvenation. So really important lessons, in addition to the fact that he kind of opened up the celebrity transparency piece, but really, his timing, the technique choice, the surgeon selection, all these things really set him up for success. And that's something that's really, really important, something we're gonna talk about a little bit as we get a little bit deeper here. Number 2 is Kris Jenner. So Kris Jenner at age 69 sets another example for us. This was her second facelift. This is a story of timing in addition to transparency about facial rejuvenation. So we're starting to see more celebrities come out and discuss actually what they're having had done, but also in her case, it gives us kind of a timeline to discuss. So Kris had her first facelift in 2011 at age 55. And then she had this refresh procedure at 2025, which is perfect. It's a 14-year gap between the first operation and the second one. And it really demonstrates, in my opinion, kind of ideal timing. And the reason why it's ideal is that Kris had been aging from the time she had the first procedure. Mid-50s is a great time to do it, by the way. She had been aging, but aging much more slowly, right? Because she had a proper facelift done. She aged, but she aged slowly, but she wasn't quick to jump in there at the first line or first wrinkle or the first presence of jowl or laxity, which sometimes people get a little carried away. They think that things should look brand new all the way through the duration, and jump like 5 years later, they need to get something done. It starts with having a proper lift done the first time so that you get as much time out of that one as you can before you have the next one done. So 14 years between procedures is quite textbook timing. I mean, I always tell patients who have the vertical restore with me, you're looking at about 10 to 15 years before you should have something else done. And I'm not promising that they're going to look like they did in the first year afterwards, but certainly, slow aging for the rest of their life will put them in a big advantage. And if they want to keep looking fresh, that's a good time to consider. That's a good period of time. So let's think about the math. 2 facelifts over nearly 3 decades. That's manageable, right? I mean, in terms of planning, it's both financially and physically doable for a lot of people. But the key is, again, choose a top surgeon as she did. This is a common issue that celebrities have had historically, is they chose surgeons that were not at the top of their profession for this particular type of procedure, in this case, a facelift. And everyone was wondering why so many celebrities come out looking done, looking, really a natural, look different, etc. Well, we're realizing, and believe it or not, I mean, I think most of my patients have realized this for the last 20 years, it's important to choose a specialist who really, really has a lot of experience and knows what they're doing. And that gives you a higher chance of having a natural, beautiful looking result, which in Kris Jenner's case and in Marc Jacobs' case, they got lovely results. And that's because they were discerning and kept a very careful eye on who they're allowing to operate on their face. So that's takeaway number 1, choose carefully. And takeaway number 2 is give yourself 12 to 15 years between the surgery if you chose the right operation the first time. So if Kris Jenner's case study is all about textbook timing, what happens when the timing is rushed and procedures are done too close together? Sharon Osbourne's story is a cautionary tale in this way, and everyone should really pay attention to this aspect because I spend a lot of time educating patients in consultation about this very issue. So Sharon Osbourne has also been wonderful in terms of being very vocal and open and honest about her procedures. I even did an entire video on her in 2021 kind of discussing some of the issues that were coming up and people were talking about and she was talking about, etc. But really what it comes down to is this. So Sharon Osbourne had, from what I can gather, a facelift in 1987, 2002, 2019, and then another one in 2021. So that's 4 operations in that period of time. And the one in 2021 got a lot of press and awareness around it, and a lot of alarms were raised because there was apparent asymmetries, scarring. And I think one of the points here is that she had 2 facelifts within a period of 2 years. And that only happens when you're trying to correct something or gain something that wasn't addressed in the first lift. But the problem is operating that close together always is a higher risk for the fact that there's scarring, the tissues have gone through a lot of healing. 4 facelifts is a lot in one's lifetime. And it's not that, it ultimately results in a bad outcome. It's just that the healing and the efficacy of the facelift becomes diminished the more you operate. So in her case, I think she's recovered quite well from where she started from, and a lot of the things that we talked about was related to the fact that she's still healing, etc. But that 2019 procedure, if done well, could have given her 10 or 15 years, and she never needed to have anything else done after that. But I get a lot of requests for revision surgeries for people who are in that exact situation. They chose a surgeon who wasn't quite experienced, chose a surgeon who wasn't really, expert in this particular operation. And then a couple years later, they look like they need another facelift. I mean, literally things are back to where they were. And when that happens, it's troublesome because A, you have to pay for an entire operation. It's usually more expensive. You have to go through another downtime. It's just a pain, right? So it's ideal to get it done right the first time and then be done with it. That's kind of like what I think in her case, we learned here, that choosing to do it with somebody who's not a total pro at it could result in needing more surgery than you should have done. Complication rates, outcome, everything is going to be significantly impacted. But overall, she's healed well. She looks quite a bit different than she did right after the procedure and all the press that she was getting. So I think, she made it out of the woods, but at the end of the day, a very important cautionary tale, because I don't think anyone wants to have 2 surgeries back to back anytime soon. All right, so Kathy Griffin.
You guys had a facelift. That's right, I talk about it now.
Comedian Kathy Griffin, 65, just had her third facelift in August of 2025, and she was brutally honest about the reality of the procedure. Her first facelift was in 1998 at the age of 38, which is on the earlier side, right? But people age differently. Today we're seeing younger people wanting to have procedures done. I'm not a fan of the younger facelift unless the person truly does look prematurely aged, and that is, something that they deserve to have a proper outcome no matter what. So age is not the only factor, but in her case, she had it done on the earlier side. It's not confirmed exactly what year her second facelift was done, but we're assuming it was spaced out, 10 to 15 years in between, and that's good. That's sort of the right rhythm to have these things done. She just started a little bit earlier. She probably started around 12 to 15 years sooner than most people get it done. Today, my average facelift patient, vertical restore patient, is in the late 40s, early 50s. But again, we've operated on patients in the 30s in select cases of premature aging, not just willy-nilly, let's just do it because they see a little line on their face and they want to get it done. And I'm afraid there's a trend going in that direction that we need to kind of like nip in the bud because it's not a good thing. Anyhow, I think one of the things that we love about her is that she's so honest about her motivation. And the motivation that I hear from most patients is simply an internal one. Internal meaning that they no longer look like themselves. They lose the sense of identity, their sense of confidence that comes from looking youthful and beautiful because they still see themselves like that. What is a little bit concerning in her case is that she describes a lot of external pressures, and that's where a lot of the motivation comes in the industry, etc., which I get it. I mean, Hollywood and working in that space is certainly not forgiving for, looking older, and there's ageism in any industry. But at the end of the day, that shouldn't necessarily be the primary source, and I'm sure it's not in her case either. But at the end of the day, I want you all to understand that this is a highly personal decision. Whatever the motivation of it is, whatever your need is to be fulfilled, is totally fine. But the last thing you want is just an arbitrary feeling that this is how you should age or that you should have something done. That's not typically the way people think about this. They think about it as something they almost feel like they need to have done in order to feel whole again, look as young as they feel, and which is a real thing. So if you are one of those people, guilt-free, this is not about vanity, etc. And if you are doing it like many of our women and men do it, also in addition to that, they want to preserve that youthful advantage into the workplace. It's another fine reason to do it as long as you look normal and natural. All right, so number 5 is Sia. Sia is a Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter who's written hits for Beyonce, Rihanna, Katy Perry. She's famous for hiding her face behind oversized wigs during performances to maintain privacy. What's interesting in her case is that she, got rid of the whole privacy thing and basically debuted her facelift results at age 47. So here's my take on Sia. Timing is, I would say, on the younger side of the normal range. Perimenopause and menopause is when the onset of aging happens. We have a lot of patients in the late 40s, early 50s that are having this done. No problem with it. A lot of times the aging process starts happening at that point and you just want to get in front of it. So it's a little bit more of a preventative way of doing it. You're essentially getting in front of the aging process. So by the time you're in your 50s and 60s, you don't see yourself as an older person. I think it's actually brilliant. I like this. Now, but again, the clock starts. If you wanted to get another lift to keep yourself looking like you did in your early 40s and 30s, which is what you're gonna get if you get it done earlier. You have a more powerful rejuvenation to where you started from the earlier you get it done. Let me frame it a different way. If you wait till your 60s to get it done, you're probably not gonna look like you're in your 30s or early 40s. You'll look like a great early 50s type of a person, but you're not gonna quite look like, because your face transforms and changes and there's new sort of shape associated with it. You'll look better no matter what age, but you won't get that young look unless you do it a little bit sooner on the aging spectrum. 47, she'll probably do it again in her early 60s, most likely if she still wants to look as young as she feels, right? But the clock does start from there, so aging continues to happen, just very, very slowly from that point on for the rest of your life. So there is preventative advantage of getting things done on the earlier side of the aging spectrum. So keep that in mind. And I think it's actually quite acceptable and intelligent to do it that way. But at the end of the day, it's a very personal decision. When do you feel that you need to get it done? So the reality here is, let's just frame it in a different way. What can we learn? Prevention and doing it early is okay, and it's a smart way of approaching it. When do you know you're ready for it? Well, I always tell patients there's 2 primary factors. Number 1, When you do this, you lift up like this and your face moves and you look a lot younger. That's number one. Number two, when you feel emotionally ready to do it, right? So if you feel emotionally ready to do it on the younger side of the spectrum and you have aging changes, and I agree with the fact that you have aging changes, then you're a candidate. The other benefit is when you do it earlier, and you all probably know this, it is less noticeable to the rest of the world, but it's also a lot less dramatic. So you're not going to get this mind-blowing before and after, but you will basically be able to hide without people knowing you've had anything done if you want to, not disclose the fact that you had this done. You're just going to be one of these people who everyone's going to be scratching their head wondering, why in the world are you not aging? Okay, so that's the Sia understanding. So she, radiates beautiful confidence, and we love her transparency. She's proud of her results and comfortable owning it, which I see as a trend happening more and more with celebrities and well-known people. Jane Fonda, the classic beauty who's now 87 years old, has been Hollywood royalty for truly 6 decades. And she represents someone who stopped getting facelifts by choice. Jane had 2 facelifts, one in her 40s and another one in her 70s. And she stopped to avoid looking quote unquote distorted, which is totally valid, not totally true in the sense that if you get a 3rd facelift and it's a well-done facelift by a well-trained and, I've done countless 3rd facelifts for people, and many times they'll look more natural than they did after the 2nd one because the 2nd one wasn't maybe done vertically and wasn't done in the right way. Well, I shouldn't say the right way, maybe the right way at the time, but in modern facelifting, wasn't the right way. And we make it actually look more natural. The bottom line, it's a total choice because you're going to look great for the rest of your life because of the lift that you had done previously at any point, in her case, 2 lifts. So that's why she looks as good as she does at 87 because of the work that she's had done earlier on. And at this point, she's cool with where she's at. She gets to enjoy the changes. She doesn't need to reset anymore. And, she's true to herself and knows when to stop. So again, there's no rules to this. There's just sort of guidelines. And what's right for you is what's right in general. And if you have a good surgeon guiding you along the way, you will definitely make good decisions. Like I tell patients no all the time when they come in too early, and I agree with them when they're at the right time for these procedures. So it's a combination of you need a good guide as well as you gotta be true to yourself. And Jane Fonda truly does represent somebody who has done that beautifully over her entire life. And I truly think, again, why she looks so good at almost 90 years old. That's quite a thing. So the lesson here is you approach this the way you want to approach it. You don't need to be on a clock. You don't need to get it done every 10, 15 years for the rest of your life. You get it done, you enjoy the changes, and if you're comfortable with where you're at, that's it. You don't get another one. You could have one and be done, or you could have another one and another one and another one. If you live long enough to enjoy those changes, why not? I remember my oldest patient was an 86-year-old male patient who came to me and said, my parents live to 100. He's highly active. He works, he was a commercial real estate investor, works all the time. He line dances every night. I think he's from Ohio, if I remember correctly. And line dances with all these young people. And he wanted to look youthful because he felt youthful. And he had, long longevity genes. Why not enjoy it? So he got a facelift, he got in and out of it, no problem. And he sent me cards and photos of himself line dancing at these bars with his nice youthful looking face. And he was very, very happy. So at the end of the day, this is a procedure that should be right for you and for your life situation, et cetera, but no set rules of how you need to do it. And I think we learned a lot from exploring these various case studies from these wonderful celebrities who have been so open about their experiences so we can kind of learn and glean from, right? But for every one of them, there's literally thousands of people who have done exactly what they're doing or their thought process who are not celebrities and basically following those type of things just naturally. So here's a couple things to conclude with. Number one, the modern facelift, which is becoming more and more focused on deep plane techniques, including the vertical restore, lasts significantly longer than traditional facelift techniques. My own technique that I was doing in the first 10 years of my practice was giving patients 7 to 10 years of durability. I quote my patients 10 to 15 years now, which is in line with what standard deep planes can achieve. So it almost doubles the durability when you get a proper lift. And that's the trend, that's the direction things are going. So make sure, I think, look for that type of technique, because if you're looking for durability, there's really no other way to get long-lasting results if you're not doing a deep plane dissection. And I did a lot of different videos describing and explaining the anatomy and why that is the case. Traditional timing pathways. Get one well-done procedure done in your 50s, late 40s, early 50s, whatever, and then maybe another one in 10, 15 years after that. And then for the most part, you should be kind of chilling for a little bit, right? So if you need a second one, that's typically the range. You'll be somewhere in your mid 60s or whatever. You can get another one done. And oftentimes that should be sufficient. So the bottom line, choose your surgeon correctly, find the best surgeon that you can afford. And if you can't afford a good surgeon, save and wait. Don't just jump in, because I can tell you, you're gonna end up spending more by redoing work than you will if you just kind of waited and been selective about who you get it done with, right? That's important. Think, hope 12 to 15 years, don't jump at the first sign of laxity, etc. Give yourself some grace and know that your aging is gonna be so subtle and slow after a properly done lift. There's no urgency to get another one done anytime soon. You definitely don't wanna just choose anyone. Makes secondary facelifts much more complex and risky. And you might have a pattern that would be closer to Sharon Osbourne's as opposed to Kris Jenner's, right? That's kind of the rule of thumb when it comes to timing and selection of surgeon. And although there is not a specific limit to how many of these you can have done, I can tell you from experience, every time you go into a face, there is more scar tissue. The tissues are more attenuated and not quite as durable and strong. So multiple facelifts do affect the durability of the procedure. So it's ideal not to need to go in too often. Okay, so just know that the risks do increase a bit every time and it becomes a more complicated procedure. And I think the other take-home message here is don't give in to external pressures. This is something that is so personal and it should be done only for you based on your own needs and your own sense of self. That's it. It doesn't matter what your friends say. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. I actually, quite honestly, have never met a husband that's been pushing their wife towards surgery, which is wonderful. But bottom line is, you're doing this for you, and I'm sure you know that. You're doing this because you want to look as young as you feel and all that comes with that. So that's really what it comes down to. And generally speaking, the fewer interventions all around that you do, the better. And one final note on this, and this is so important because I just saw a patient of mine who was from Italy. She's been 2 to 3 years out from her surgery, but she had been on trifecta for her skin for 4 years almost. Her skin looks so supple. She just turned 50. And when you look at her, she literally looks like a 30-something-year-old. And the reason is because the combination of young-looking skin coupled with young-looking facial shape is how a face looks young. And it is an incredible, incredible hack that whether you're considering having surgery or not, take care of your skin starting now. Because when you do have surgery, then you have this young-looking skin envelope, you're gonna look 1,000 times better after a facelift. And if you have already gotten a facelift, you can still make your skin a lot better. So trifecta is the way forward, in my opinion, where you're basically gonna make the process super simple and super, super reliable to get those type of results. And again, literally almost all of my surgical patients have been on it, some of them long before they even considered having surgery with me, and their skin reflects it. And that combination of skin and shape is really, really beautiful. It's a powerful combination. So think of these as two sides of the coin. And if you want to learn more about the Karam MD trifecta, make sure you check out the website or the link below. All right, folks, if you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. And any comments that you have about any of the things we talked about, drop them in the comment section below. Always love to get dialogue going and get community involved in this. If you want to learn a little bit more about how to manage your skin or any other facial aging matters, definitely sign up for the Karam MD Journal. It's a free newsletter that I write every single week for you guys, and it's delivered into your inbox every week. So thanks so much for watching, and until next time, Dr. Amir Karam.